the ACC and be competitive. They could jump into the Pac-12 and probably win. Other than Oregon's the only really talented team in the division.
Yeah, I'm not even going to rebuttal you and say Utah because I got nothing.
Well, Utah is always going to be playing above their means, right?
Yeah.
They get guys from Florida, but of course they're not the guys that Ohio State plucks. They're not the guys that Clemson plucks. They're not even the guys that Florida State and Florida get. They're the guys that
Miami drops.
Yeah, or maybe even guys that used to go to West Virginia. Yeah. West Virginia used to take the South Florida kids all the time, or something like that, and they wind up now at Utah. Well, yeah, Utah's winning games. I'd rather go there than somewhere ahead.
Yeah.
I feel like they're a solid program, but always just seem to choke in the big games. I mean, I don't know.
Okay, last question for you, Justin. And I ask you this because you're a football guy and I'm a football guy. Jordan's a football guy. You have a day to spend with 3 football coaches any time period. You just get to talk football with them. Could be Mike Ditka, Bill Walsh, anyone. College, pro. You just chill and talk football with 3 coaches of your choice. Who are you picking?
Randy Shannon, Al Golden, and no, I'm just kidding.
All right, go to hell.
God, if I can get 3 in a room, they'd have to be fun. What would we have to talk about football, or we can talk about anything?
You could talk about you talk about life, but football's a part of life. I mean, you tie one into each other.
The more you hear about Saban and Belichick, the more that's all they talk about. I don't think that would go over that well with me. I think that I would probably be able to have a good conversation with Nick Rolovich. He seems like a really interesting guy. He was at Hawaii, now he's at Washington State. He seems really interesting. He brought the Britney Spears impersonator to the conference day, and he brought a palm reader. I am into that kind of thing, so I think Rolovich would be fun. I know that's a more recent one. He would be really fun, though. I think, I did this kind of post thing once for, where if I had a TV show, I would take different coaches out places. And I think the Mike Leach to IKEA would be fascinating. Sitting in the fake kitchenette, making him eat a Swedish meatball and just asking him about anything. What do you think of this setup? So, how would you build your kitchen? I think he could be pretty fun to do that with. So I think Mike Leach at IKEA would be my idea. I think Rolovich maybe at you take Rolovich to Casadega, Florida, and have his palm read, and some dump like that. And then, gosh, you got a lot of interesting weirdos in that business. Football's a weird place. Kurt Hester for sure. I'd like to go gator hunting with Kurt Hester, the strength coach at Louisiana Tech. He'd be a fun guy to go out and cut your sleeves off your shirt. You used to have long hair. I have long hair.
He was rumored. He was rumored when we got Coach Feely. He was. I mean, I don't know if this is true or not. You might know, but he was another rumored candidate here at Miami. So that would.
I wouldn't be blown away because I was shocked, I guess, because of Baker being very friendly with Manny, obviously, and Manny having been there. He knows Kurt. I mean, if you know what you're doing, you want to bring Kurt Hester into your program. The thing is going to be taking a small town guy like that who loves the Baton Rouge sort of area, New Orleans, his wife from there. They're just kind of embedded in there. I read his book. I talked to him probably once a week. He's a really cool dude. It's going to be hard to pull him out of, the bayou, right? Yeah. He was at LSU, and then now he's at Louisiana Tech. He ain't, it's one of those, I'm sure he flirted with the idea. But, Louisiana Tech has most of his equipment. That's his actual personal, strength equipment from when he used to do combine prep. So he sort of invested there more deeply than anyone ever anywhere, probably. So I don't, I'm sure he thought about it, and he strikes me as a guy who would definitely take you up on it to be respectful. But I think they got the right guy. I mean, I've never heard anything bad about Coach Feely. I've heard nothing but positive things that, he, Georgia Tech was looking at him. Now the guy that they've got, I can't think of his name. It starts with a C, but he's an outstanding strength coach. But he was, Feely was pick number 2. So Georgia Tech was looking at him. They're doing great things at their program. He came down to Miami, and I mean, he was literally like Georgia Tech's, if we don't get this guy, we want this guy, which is a good place to be. I mean, you're at Temple. You should, be flattered to have that kind of attention. I think he was a good hire, and I think that'll go well. Remember, the strength coach only does what the head coach tells them in a lot of ways. Now, they obviously teach technique and things like that, but a lot of those coaches, when you see them running stupid 300-yard shuttles or 110s or whatever, that have nothing to do with football, because I've never ran 300 yards in a game probably. Hell, my fat ass probably didn't run 300 yards in a career. But I wouldn't exactly chase guys down for an angle tackle. But, that's not real, right? And you can't create speed while tired. And, I mean, we could have a whole entire podcast about how to create speed, but you can't create speed while tired. So if you want guys to be faster and all this Miami speed, well, Miami's been the slowest damn team that I've seen in a long time. I mean, Miami's slow. They're, all these Jeff Thomas rumors that he didn't do shit. Did he ever burn anybody? I
think you're the first person to ever call Miami slow.
They're slow.
Yeah.
Watch them play.
Losing teams
They're
are slow.
And they lack power in the hips. They play high. They play tight. Look at the linebackers, high and tight. And they're slow. I mean, for every Russo that's there who they haven't, that other staff didn't have time to make slower. I think he's got time. Right now he's still just working on nature, right? I mean, look how many guys came in as freshmen and better than they did as seniors. Or they came in as freshmen, played really well, and then all of a sudden they only played well their senior year, like a Leonard Hankerson, who had a really good senior year, but you're waiting for it for years, right?
Yeah.
And he started working with somebody else. Mark Duper was training him, right? So I think, when you think about, there's a lot of, I feel like this will take us all the way back home, right? Butch Davis in 1995. You're looking at this laundry list of injuries, right? And you're like, damn, ankle, knee, shoulder, shoulder, shoulder. That's the weight room, and that's practice reps. You have beaten the living shit out of guys when their shoulders are blown out, and you probably, one rep max the hell out of them because you're creating toughness, brother. You don't create toughness. I'm sorry. People might disagree with me. Angela Duckworth, this whole grit thing. She even says she's not even sure really how to judge it because you can game her test. What's passion and perseverance and blah, blah, blah. Sure. I've read her book. I've read some Carol Dweck stuff. I don't think you create mental toughness. I think people either got it or they don't. Can you sort of have it, get a little more? Sure. But if you don't have it, you're just going to be a really, really good jogging quitter. And so I can jog your ass back and forth all day, and you can still quit on me. Or I can figure out who the hell's a quitter by talking to your high school counselors and by digging deeper into who you really are as a player and a student. So I'm going to tell you now, if you quit on a damn test, you're going to quit on a damn football game. And so I don't think that you create toughness by running 300s. You just jog anyway. No one gives a shit. You're telling me that the star player isn't going to play because they didn't pass the test? Only Pat Riley does crazy shit like that. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's how many rings does he have? Like 9 rings, Pat Riley? Or
the Godfather.
Yeah.
Crazy enough to do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Antoine Walker ran his ass out of town.
Yeah. Yeah,
no, you don't create stuff.
The most recent Jimmy Butler podcast, he was on the JJ Redick show, and he actually talks about that, He's like, it'll never be completely equal for guys like me as opposed to guys like Duncan Robinson, but he's like, more so than any other NBA franchise I've ever been with. He says, we're all peers here. Even me as the max player that they gave up assets for, and guys like Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero and the other young guys.
And think about Tom Brady still slept in the team hotel on a lumpy damn Hyatt mattress with his supermodel wife right down the street the night before a game, just like the jabroni free agent scout team player and everybody else.
Yeah.
Love it.
And that's why you win.
It. That's my kind of guy. I love it.
Yeah, there's
That's a
stories.
Football guy.
There's stories about like that type of stuff with Greg Popovich and the Spurs too, with I heard a story that, oh man, I think it was, that for their very early oh man, what's that called? Training camp. Like the very first weekend of training camp, they're doing all kinds of special stuff to kind of, just push the new guys right into the thick of things. And they had to stay in a team hotel and stuff, and they were meeting in the ballroom. And I think it was like Bruce Bowen and Steven Jackson or something. They parked in the parking garage. They're coming in, and they see Tim Duncan get off the elevator in the hotel there. And, it's just like some random hotel. It's not a luxury place.
Yeah.
And, and they're like, Tim, where are you coming from? And he's like, oh, my room. I'm up, up on the 4th floor or whatever. Like, Tim, you don't have to stay in this crappy hotel. Like, we're all staying in our $1 million houses, and I don't know. I thought it was funny, it really shows that, when you can get star players to buy into stuff like that, that's when you create dynasties and have this prolonged success.
When you have guys that are we guys, not me guys.
Yes.
That's all I want. I just want team guys. I don't want these prima donnas. I just want football guys that are all about winning and winning for the team. Why is it so damn hard to find?
Because here's a couple things. It's hard to find because you have to have a recruiting department that knows what the hell they're looking for. Because when all you do is hire former high school security guards who became head coaches, who now work at your school and don't have a goddamn master's degree in anything, let alone psychology, how are you able to figure out that that's what you're looking for? All they know is stupid shit like, oh, yeah, he's a tough guy, bruh. Like, no, that's not real. None of that matters. Sure, his uncle who you've paid $1,000 to be able to get in the door with him. Like, I get it. You have to have some scumbag who's doing the bag, but, to compete. But you also need somebody who's overseeing all the bag men and your bag coaches, who are the guys who are the runners for all that stuff. And you have to get in the middle of it. And so you have to have somebody that's overseeing that, who is your director of player personnel, who's not a former South Miami, field maintenance asshole or whatever, that actually is a real person that's actually studying organizational psychology, or a former school administrator, anything, right? That understands what admissions is looking for, what a transcript looks like, that when you see 6 high schools and one of them's name, I don't remember if this is Miami or Jacksonville, but like Bannerman, and you start looking and you're like, oh, that's the expulsion school. Correct. Okay. You know what I mean? You start seeing that kind of stuff. And you go, oh, you never actually went to said high school. You went to the damn tech school that works on carburetors down the street. That's why we can't get you to pass the fucking ACT. Well, yeah, no shit. You have to have somebody who knows those things, who can sit across a room from somebody and knows that the kid dicking around on their phone during your, what's basically the biggest job interview of their life up to that point means they don't give a shit. You have to be able to tell. And until you hire someone that understands organizational psychology, you will never, ever look through somebody's eyes and peer right into what the hell matters to them most. Because all you're doing is trying to get their uncle's friend on your goddamn coaching staff at some fake-ass job, and it doesn't matter. Yeah. Because you need an overseeing person who can read a transcript, who can stare into somebody's eyes, and who knows when they're being put on. And that's why these guys play Miami for a vacation and then go to Alabama, or they go to Auburn, or they go wherever the fuck, but they don't go to Miami because they never were. But you have to know that by looking into their eyes and seeing who's a damn phony and who's not. And until you can do that personally, you will never, ever build a great culture. I can run you up some stupid hill all day long, and you're either a quitter or you're not. But I didn't create it. It was just aesthetic.
I mean, you're preaching to the choir, man. This is what Jordan and I have been saying for the past two and a half months. Like,
yeah.
Hire an organizational psychologist, pay him well, call him director of player personnel or whatever the hell, and have them investigate and evaluate these kids that you want. And they're kids. Let's face it, they're kids. And let's look into them. They should be considered grown men, but our culture here in the United States is all fucked up, and you're not a grown man until you're like 26 years old. But
didn't Didn't Butch Davis hire a psychiatrist when he got to Miami?
He used some kind of psychologist, yeah.